Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome to the Deceptilab. This is your boy Freeze, and it feels good to be back. We missed a week, so we got a lot to talk about. And I think that I'm going to let me see what I'm gonna start off with. Well, today we're going to talk about the new batch of G1 cores. It's supposed to be dropping into the game tomorrow, and we'll take a look at them. I know some of the other content creators already kind of looked at them. I kind of waited till later on this time because there's always changes, and I don't want the community to get too excited for something if it does change and it changes in a negative direction. So we'll talk about what the finalized product is going to look like. I'll also take a sneak peek at the endurance bots. Now, the abilities on these things have been changing quite a bit, so I'm not really in a position to show off what they do yet. That'll probably be a next week thing, but we can look at the concept art, and stuff like that. And I can tell you a little bit about what's going on with them. And then next week, we'll probably be able to go through with all of the actual gameplay. So, yeah, that'll be fun. And there's a new strategy that I started working on this week. Um, Shout out to my best friend in the game, Trap, for putting me onto this. He says, "Hey, Freeze, you need to try this," and it's crazy because it's using mostly 4-star bots. So for some of you guys down there in the lower leagues, hell, for some of you guys even up in the upper leagues, I'm gonna test something out to see if it's a viable option for Transformers Earth Wars. So we'll talk about all those things, but before we do, let's go and take a look at this week's newsletter. And this week we got the event is called Stolen Fun Thunder. It's season 21, week 2. And let's see what we got going on here. We got an individual totalizer, 10k points, so a short event. And this week we got some of the prizes. We got 2.5k prime shards. I gotta check and see if I get a well. I think I got all the prime cores I got right now. So right now I'm just gonna be storing. Um, I think that'll put me around 5k. So not too bad. Let's see. We also gonna have 2.5k of 4-star shards, 7.5k of 3-star shards, and 30k premium. So standard there. And in addition to 15 times your upgraded power cores that drop building, bot, or G1 power cores. And then 300k spark. Now, if you were on Discord yesterday, you probably saw that the 300k spark was the source of some controversy this week. It originally was 300k combat spark, which most of the players, I'll be honest, most players need. Combat spark is very hard to come by, and they changed that to regular spark, and the reason that they gave was that a lot of the newer players need that spark. Honestly, a lot of players were talking about how with Alliance HQ that you need that spark to be able to donate, to be able to complete everything. Um, and then there's a lot of back and forth between, the more experienced players and some of the players that are a little bit younger in the game regarding that spark. Um, and it's event wise, it's got to be something they got to do to balance that out because right now, that combat spark, we're just not seeing it enough. Like you see plenty of it on that 50k individual totalizer, which I almost finished this past one. I stopped on Sundays for the NFL, and I had friends come over and cook and stuff like that. But uh, I got most of it. I got about 47, 48k. I didn't finish the last couple of thousand when I started watching football, but that and the endurance event are typically going to be where you're going to pull most of your combat spark. But overall, I'm not too peeved. I would have been able to take Zori to level 10 if they would have kept the combat spark in there. So I was a little ticked off by that, but nothing too crazy. I can manage. Typical battle zones. And like I said, the topic of the day is going to be the new G1 cores that are coming to the game. And so Texas Hammer, as he always does, did a brilliant job putting together all of the artwork along with the power cores. And so, not going to read through all of this stuff right now because obviously we're going to demonstrate during the stream. But you got G1s for Brainstorm and Skyhawk, G1 for Impactor, for Run Amok and Red Alert, for Slash and Ripper Snapper, for Snarl and Hunger, and for Windblade and Dive Bomb. So I will say this batch of G1s, you guys know if you've seen me talk about them on the stream, if you saw me talk about them on Sunstreak or Waza when we were doing unpopular opinions, I'm not a huge fan overall of G1 cores. Recently, he actually made a video or cut from his live stream talking about what's better, the G1s and or the prime cores. So I think that always leaves a little bit of room for debate. But I am overall pretty impressed with this batch, so we'll get a chance to take a look at that today. And then they got the Cyber Pass chart in there as well. And as always, check out all of your content creators, Engineer Horse, myself, Soldier, and of course Sunstreaker Waza. And then you can see the saga schedule. So we got 2 weeks until the start of the endurance event. Surrounded by a couple of 10K events. Halloween special is usually a good event because we usually get a lot of goodies for that. So looking forward to that next week as well. And then the endurance, which I'm debating about going for this one again. I'm starting to take endurance events a little bit more seriously as I'm building a different war team that I showed maybe about a month ago, a few streams back, where I'm trying to focus on a lot of my energy on Slipstream. That's air raid for you guys on the Autobot side. And so I'm starting to get to the point where I got most of these guys up to level 66, high level 66, trying to get them to 67. So I probably hit up that endurance event for that. All right, some really cool artwork there by Skynet, and some embroideries up there by Gran and Galva. Looks really cool. And then we got a couple of bug fixes as well. So on tomorrow, Thursday, 19 October, it's supposed to be fixed to the Liege Maximal Core, where Liege was getting stuck in walls. And I'm not sure what it is they're working on for Chromia and Fellbat. or First Aid and Reflector. But they also saying that Blur's being looked at, basically because he wanders away from the squad. So they're trying to see if there's anything they can do to fix that. But they do want you to continue to send in your bug reports, see what's going on. And that looks like all we got for the news this week. So let's head over to the battlefield and we will see who we got in the chat. And I can see that my good buddy Lord Avix was first in the chat. Thanks for joining today, buddy. As well as E-Rods is back with us again, as well as Robert C4. So make sure you guys, if you haven't already, check out Robert C4's content. He's got some really good stuff out there. Really strategic guy, as well as Grim Studios, who's another really good content creator. Check him out. Mercenary Terror, one of my moderators, good friends as well, and a fellow content creator. Make sure you guys subscribe to these guys. These guys are making really spectacular content right now. Mercenary Terror says that that's the longest I've gone without having to cancel a stream. Yeah, it's been about 3.5 months since I had a stream cancellation. Apologies to everybody for not being able to make it last week, but honestly, work had just got really, really overwhelming, and then just dealing with a couple other things in personal life. Like I was telling you guys in the chat, I said I was getting my son's car worked on, excuse me, and just a lot of stuff just going on. And it's good to recharge the batteries every now and again, and just take a short break. So that's what I was dealing with last week. Um, shouldn't have any problems going forward. Still need to go make some long form content for sure. But I just been having curveball after curveball, so that's what we got going on. Let's see who else we got. We got Big Blade, another fellow content creator. Make sure you check him out, guys. And and he asked the question: was the newsletter a typo? Was Impactor actually going to do 4 times damage? So I actually wound up getting an update about that. It was 3 times for that when you're using that G1. We'll take a look at it in a little bit. But let me know in the chat, which G1 core do you want to see on display tonight first? Now, I know most of you guys have probably already seen them quite a bit already, but this is the finalized version. This is the real deal. This is what Space Ape is saying. They signed off, and they're going to push into the game tomorrow. So let me know in the chat who you want to see first. All right, let's see. We also got my good buddy Chris Harmon and fellow moderator and member. Thank you for joining, Chris. We got Alpha Trion 1 with us again. Thanks for joining. Another fellow content creator, Dennis Smoke 86. Make sure you guys check him out as well. Let's see, we got Every Day I Am Alive. Thanks for joining. And let's see, we got Kristen Jones is hanging out with us again. Thanks for joining, Kristen. And let me see what else I see. We got Ronald Van Hollen is with us again. Thanks for joining. Yeah, and Kristen was saying the same thing I was saying. Kristen saying I wanted Combat Spark, and yeah, I definitely wanted the Combat Spark. It's just so difficult to get. So, yeah, I mean, regular Spark is cool, but it's just so many ways to get regular Spark. I mean, just opening crystals, fighting in wolves. I'm gonna call myself low on Spark because I usually stay close to 4 million. Right now I'm about 2 million on the live server, but yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take everything I can get. And let's see, we got James Sluicer. Sluicer's in there as well as Autobot Phil. And I think that is everyone. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna flip over. I'm gonna make the screen a little bit bigger so we can take a good solid look at these G1 cores. So I'm looking in the chat to see who everybody wants to see. And let's see, Chris Harmon wants to see Impactor or Ripper Snapper. James wants to see Ripper Snapper. Robert C4 wants to see Guy Hawk. Mercenary Terror wants to see Ripper Snapper. And let's see what we got. And Spec is saying so low. You saying the volume is low? I can see if I can adjust it a little bit. Big Blade's trying to get Sandstorm to ability 9. And wants the regular spark. So let's see. Alright, cool. So let me pull up the G1 cores. And let's see, it sounds like everybody wanted to start with Ripper Snapper. So Ripper Snapper and Slash. And this one is actually a good one to start off with because in the background there is a potential that Ripper Snapper might actually be getting a buff. And realistically speaking, I can't show Ripper Snapper without showing that buff. So I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on here in a minute. But let's talk about the G1 core first. And so the G1 core for Ripper Snapper and Slash is gonna add 15% to the bot's health. And that's going to also turn the bot invisible for 7 seconds every 15 seconds. So you're kind of getting a little bit of a ability without actually using the ability, and that when it does that, it's also going to do 1.5 times damage more when Ripper Snapper is invisible. So with that health boost, that carries Ripper up to 34.5k, little over 30 and little over 34.5k. So let me go in here and actually I got the combat. Well, I need to add a combat. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'll try the new combat. I tried Lancelon. See how that goes. And Autobot Phil asks, does that apply to the special ability? When I was testing it, it did appear that it was working along with the ability as well. So hopefully it actually makes it to the live server that way. That's what I was planning on, was for it to come out there, for it to add additional damage to the ability as well as just during the additional 7 seconds. I imagine that's why you asked it, because it has that 7 seconds that it does. But yeah. So let me do this. I already had Ripper Snapper up there, but I want to get all of the G1 core bots up here. And for whatever reason, it hasn't been saving when I was doing this, but we'll get Hunger, we'll get Run Amok. We'll get Guy Hawk. And we will also get, can't remember who was the last one. I can't remember who the last one was right off the top of my head. Let's see. I got it written down though, so no worries. So Guy Hawk. Oh, and Dive Bomb. Oh boy, there goes the Scepter Dog. Dude, it's always like I just wanted to start my stream later just so everybody's in the house before the Decepticon dog go crazy. But alright, so going to take a look at this ability. And I'm just going to start them real far back on the back of the pad so you can see the animation when he turns invisible. So every 15 seconds he's going to have that ability where he turns invisible. All right, so right now you see that little blue aura that's around him. Right now, that's his ability being activated. Um, and the only thing I hate about abilities like that is you gotta have some of this stuff happen in good timing. Just because, like right there, he got stunned. Right there, he got stunned a little bit, and it was really something else. Let me see if I can get somebody to help me out with Decepticon real quick. All right, so let's try it again. And what I was saying is that Space Ape is working on buffing some older content in the background, and and Robert C4 caught that. He said that Ripper Snapper is gliding, but yeah, he wasn't doing that the other day, or at least not when I logged in earlier. But I imagine they want to fix the animation for that. But but yeah, so that's the one drawback to an ability like that, or to a G1 like that, is you gotta wait that 15 seconds out for it to actually work. But the beautiful part about it is you can actually kind of stagger out that ability, that G1 core part of the ability, and then use your regular ability. Now, one thing I want you guys to notice is this. So, and Space Ape isn't 100% sure that they're going to do this yet, but check out Ripper Snapper's range on the test server. So Ripper Snapper is one of the bots that basically Dale said, "Hey man, if we were to go in there and make some buffs to some older bots, like which bots would you want?" And so everybody had a whole bunch of ideas, and some of them they took, some of them Space Ape took, and then some of them they looked at the data and say, "Hey, we don't want to use certain bots because they're already popular and heavily used. They want to try to focus on some of them that aren't used as much." And so one of the things that came up was that Ripper Snapper's range is very, very limited. So there is a possibility we're still getting feedback from the rest of playtest to see how it works. If they feel like this is pretty good, but I like the range on them right now, and I think it brings a lot of tactics back into play. I think that if you are going to look at um, stuff like backdoor attack strategies, those come back. I think that I think it makes them. I think it makes them a solid option again. And with that, maybe that forces people to start changing the way that they go approach the game defensively. Like maybe you start to see more flare mines in play again if he starts to make a comeback. But overall, pretty good, cool for Ripper Snapper and Slash. Like you can see right now, he turned invisible again, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. So let me know in the chat what you think about that Ripper Snapper G1 core. Mercenary Terror says make his base mode his robot mode. I don't like him staying only in land shark. I say I mean you're a huge Terracon fan. I w- I kind of like when they're in that mode, and that's actually to the point that I put Hunger on my thumbnail and I put him in robot mode, and I was like, ah man, I shouldn't do that. Like he's more iconic in his robot mode, but I did it anyway. So it's one of those things I was thinking about. Robert C4 says poor old Drill Horn hasn't caught nothing. Now Drill Horn is Dale's baby, and so I'd expect Drill Horn to get some love at some point, man. Like honestly, because that's one of those things Dale just ain't gonna let die. But yeah, I see a couple of comments in there saying that he definitely needs a rework for Drill Horn. Um, but reworking Drill Horn, it's tough, man, because like what would you do if you were going to make a rework of Drill Horn? How would you approach it? Let me know in the chat because I just every time I try to think of something, this remotely similar to what he already does. Um, I'm just like, he's gonna be OP or he's still gonna be not that good. Robert C. Ford says that he has proof that Dale knows what we want. Autobot Phil says that we've been waiting for Drill Horn to get some love since day one. All right, so next we'll go ahead and we'll talk about Impactor. And I'll be honest, this is one of the ones that I was talking about that I was getting excited for, and I was talking to Chris about this. Was it yesterday or the day before? We were talking about um, which G1s we might go for. But the problem that I have with Impactor is this: Impactor just works really really well with that Amalgamous Prime core. But a lot of times you're gonna use your Amalgamous Prime core on other bots. For example, like on defense, I've got Koala Gun in there, Twin Twist for you guys on the Autobot side, uh, and it's hard to just say, hey, I'm gonna pull that off of him. And even if I don't use him much offensively, except for I use him a lot in events. I use Koala Gun, but I said I just need something that's gonna help me out with Impactor because I still love Impactor a lot. He's my highest rated bot that I've got. I've got him completely maxed out. I power level with him for years in events. And so when I look at this G1 and I say, okay, you're increasing the ability damage. And so the comparison and what we talked about in playtest was like, yeah, one of the things that you always looked at is you always use the Amalgamous core, and the Amalgamous core gave him healing. And when you look at his statistics, he's got decent health for a special class bot. And with him having that shield, this you know resisting a lot of that damage, that Amalgamous core worked really well. So one of the things that we were asking for and didn't get was for him to get some kind of something for his health in there, but you still got a decent bump of ability damage. You're at 19.3. You add in with his ability 11 that you're getting those additional explosions, and so you've got a really really nice ability on Impactor when you use this G1 core. So this is one of the cores that I'm definitely interested in. And now he's got a new element where he's adding a quick blast attack, and it's going to go up to 4 DPS. And honestly, that was a recent change. Now the color on the screen is gold. This is actually a G metal, as you can see here. That's a visual glitch on the test server, but this is a G metal core that we're looking at for Impactor. So let's check that out as well. We'll go into the prime zone. Big Blade says remove the War for Cybertron Impactor for a bit. Yeah, I can do that when I go on the next run with him. Alright, so first thing I want to take a look at is this new element that he has on attack. So you can see that he actually starts going in melee. And I accidentally deployed 2 more bots. But when you look at his ability, you're getting that ability bump. And I actually want to go back in there and look at him again because I want to see that new element that he has that is going to do the 4 times damage. And in this particular case, he kind of just dove straight into melee combat. So I want to run that one back. Now I actually go into a base trial to try to do it this time. And I see my very first member, Joker, just joined the chat. Thanks for joining, Joker. Oh, wait a minute. We said take the War for Cybertron. I like the War for Cybertron look on Impactor, man. And I have since they did that War for Cybertron Netflix series. I actually like War for Cybertron Chorus period because I really like just for my bots to look like they got a lot of battle damage and just be all beat up and stuff like that. I think it's awesome. And when the when the bots first started coming out, When the chorus first started coming out. Uh, my teammates at the time, we were having a huge debate about the War for Cybertron chorus. They was just like, "Yeah, man, I don't like that. I like mine shiny." And I was like, "Well, if they're going to war, like let them be all beat up." And see, you can see how he shoots that little beam. But the problem that I have with this one, and I mentioned this in playtest, is that if he's shooting that little beam and he's only doing it at certain distances, um, he's still going to revert back to his melee combat. And this is one of the reasons why I want him to have a healing element as opposed to this little this new beam that he's got. Just because, dude, honestly, it's not gonna it's only going to work at certain distances. So that part I don't like. Um, I would have really have had a health regen. Uh, like I said, I was thinking about going for this one. I'm not. I'm not 100% sold yet. So yeah, that's what we kind of looking at. Spec is saying avoid the FFD. Yeah, I definitely if I was playing just straight up, I definitely would go in there and try to avoid those FFDs, just because it does affect his shield and his protection that he has up there. Right now, I was just trying to just letting him walk up to try to go do a demonstration of how he does his thing. But by all means, you try to get that FFD out the way. Yeah, and to Robert C. 4's point, I do like those War for Cybertron cores. I wish they kept making them. I mean, and like a lot of the skins that we get, like in the Cyber Pass and stuff like that, they're all right. But I just love that battle damage look. But yeah, I got FFD on both sides of this thing, so Alpha Trion one says not worth it. Keep the Prime Core on them. Yeah, for sure. You can always do that. If you don't need that Prime Core elsewhere, and that's the problem that I run into. So yeah, Big Blade says you can have his War for Cybertron back. You just wanted to see the look for a minute, but yeah, nah, cool man. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna put it back on. All right, so who should we take a look at next? I think that I think that most people. Well, let me see, because you could do Hawk and Brainstorm. Um, that one's pretty good. That one's pretty good. I think I'll hold off on that one for a second, and I think I want to take a look at. Let's take a look at Red Alert and Run Amok. All right. So for Run Amok and Red Alert, what you're getting is you're getting starting off a 15% health boost. And so let's take a look at that real quick because with that 15%, like this one, I've got at level 64. Um, I can actually go. I can go while I'm talking about it. I can go get some cores and max them out real quick because I know everybody else want to see the maxed out version. I think this one mirrors what I got on the live server right now. And on the live server, my run amok is relatively new. He still got some work to do. But let's talk about that health boost for a second. With that health boost, I think that you're taking a bot that's already kind of menacing on the defensive side of things, and Space Ape has already expressed many times that they want to go and start doing things that are going to be helpful on defense. And so when you try to do things that are helpful on defense, a health boost for a bot like that that's already going to have 10 seconds of invulnerability and everything like that, it's honestly that's a really good move. It's going to make him even tougher in those outposts, and I think that I might actually invest in this while I'm in here leveling my run 'em up. So for all you guys that are using, and I use run amok on offense as well, so it should be a pretty good core. We'll take a look at the rest of it. And I see in the chat, Big Blade says, "Is that his G1 icon?" Yeah, it appears to be. Alright, so 15%, like we said, additional health. Every 12 seconds, you create a protective shield that blocks 40% of damage for 4 seconds. Now, I would have liked to have seen that 4 seconds bumped up a little bit, but I do understand that you don't want. Well, no, I don't understand because it's a protective shield just for him compared to his ability. Because this is another one of those cores that's kind of running his ability a second time. But it's only affecting him in this case. So I think that we can get. I think we could double that. I think we can do like 8 seconds on that, to be honest. And he's already got higher health. But let's take a look at him. We'll see how that looks. Oh, I still didn't add the. I still didn't add the XP. I was supposed to add the XP so we can check the stats. And I got a request to compare the health to headstrong. So when I go back and add that XP after this run, I can do that. Oof. And you can see that he just generated like a little shield. So it's not like his normal clear shield. It just kind of generates a short little shield, like a kind of like you would get as like a after death effect for certain stuff and things like that. So, and it looks like the server just froze on me for a second. So I'll go back to the lab, fix the test server, and we will go back and add some XP onto run them up. Let's see, and while I'm waiting for that to come back up, we'll look into the chat, and it says here that, all right, we say compare him to Headstrong. We can do that. Robert C4 likes run amok over Cutthroat. So I'll say this: I do use them in place of each other. I if Cutthroat was a 5 star, I'd probably lean more towards him, and then I'd probably run Cutthroat on defense. Excuse me. I'd run amok on defense, but as it stands right now, because he's so versatile of a bot that run amok is, I think that I'm just gonna continue to use him. Like I've got, I think like a level 69 Cutthroat. I've got like a level 62 run amok, and I've been using the run amok instead. So primarily because I'm trying new tactics, and that actually ties into what I want to talk about a little bit later on with the tactic that I was looking at using. So let's take a look at what he's going to look like maxed out. We'll give him a couple of levels here. And we said we want to compare him to some of some of the tankier bots in the game, which is cool because you can always load up different combats on him. You know, some of the range combat stuff like that. Yeah, and that's the point that I was making too. Is that it does look like the Titan shield that comes up there, and that's kind of what Run Amok's shield is looking like. It is helpful. It definitely helps when I go use him in teams. It definitely helps with his durability. Uh, yeah, Chris asked, could I? We were talking yesterday about a run amok and terror combo. Yeah, I'm gonna actually show that a little bit later. And it's more so because all I'm trying to do in that particular case is just with Terramander, which is top spin for you guys on the Autobot side. All I'm really trying to do there is decrease the amount of defensive damage. So what I end up doing is I end up taking Run Amok and using him to shield the bots uh, as well, and then makes it look like nothing's ever even happening to him. So yeah, I'll run that in a little bit. All right, so let's go back over for a battle, and what I want to focus on this time is we want to look at the health that we have for Run Amok. So the health here, you get him up to 43-4, which it's pretty solid. When you go compare him to, we were saying we were trying to look at Headstrong. Oops, I didn't mean to actually stick him on the team. Uh, Headstrong at 47-9. So, and then that's not even including that if you go use like SG1 and you getting the boost off of it or anything like that. So, you're starting to get into those ranges where you can kind of use the bots together, and that's what I usually do when bludgeon. What I use in bludgeon, and then my follow up kind of tankier bot is run amok because I use this 10-second shield as long as there are no FFDs present. All right, so he just shot off his friction rifle, and eventually he's gonna wind up getting his shield back. And that is helps his survivability. He's already got that little buff with the G1 core. And honestly, I think he's gonna be pretty good with that G1 core. So yeah. So I think I am gonna go for that one. Right now, I've been running my Cronus on him, but I think I can find another spot for it, so I'm not overly concerned about that. But yeah. All right, cool. So let's also talk about. All right, I'm gonna go get this one out the way. Let's talk about hunger. Now, I will say this one I wasn't overly impressed with, but we'll talk about it anyway. So hunger is gonna the special ability damage increase is cool, and it's at 20.5%, which is a nice chunk, and it's gonna add a new long range fireball as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and I need to give him his ability 11, but I'll go ahead and run a test first with the ability 10 just to see how he looks. But yeah, to answer your question, Big Blade, yeah, he's invincible. Yeah, not question, but somebody, well, to your point, yeah, he's invincible with ability 11 for those 10 seconds. And that was one that I actually, in play test, that was one that I actually um, came up with the concept for back in the days when Fabian was still playtesting. He was asking for ideas. But yeah, you got a little long range fireball there. You can kind of go over walls if you approach them a little bit. And when you start to use that ability, now Hunger is one of those bots that I feel like kind of needs a little bit of a rework just because um, overall he's kind of squishy for what he does, and his ability rushes in. But his ability also, with acid being the meta, I mean, it does do fire damage, so that's a plus. But this is one of those bots that I would have rather seen in that batch of bots that Dale's trying to work on to buff some of the low use bots. I would have loved to have seen him get a little bit of a rework. All right, so let's see. Let me go get some spark. so that I can go give him ability 10, see how much of a difference that makes. Yeah, and that's what I agree with you, Phil. Yeah, he's a bit of a suicide bot. You can do a little bit of damage with him, um, and I think a lot of times the goal with some of these G1s is to try to fix some of the problems the bot has. I don't think this one really did that. And then you're talking about just under 7K her damage with that with a maxed out version. Um, it's just the bot needs work. It's not just going to be the G1, and hopefully he actually gets it. Maybe this G1, maybe there's another plan further down the road that I don't know about yet. And Space Ape is good for that, to be honest. So hopefully that's the case, because I would like to see him. I mean, he's an iconic bot in the lore, I feel like. So I'd love to see him just get a little bit of love, a little bit of attention. But yeah, so now, but I do like that. I do like how he's doing all that damage in the line now. Now when you throw that ability 11 up there, and he's got so much potential, man. But at the end of the day, he just goes charging into trouble. I mean, he'll set fire to everything along that path, but he just doesn't have the survivability that I want, and that was one of the things that playtesters wanted, was that survivability. And to your point, Phil, you know, the problem with giving a bot like that a shield is like we're starting to give shields to so many bots that it's gonna get played out over time. And that was one of the conversations we had in playtest. It's like, look, man, like if we start giving every bot a shield, it's gonna it's gonna invalidate the really good shield bots. But I do think they should have did something to address this durability. I mean, we just looked at two G1 cores where they gave him additional health and all these things, and then you got this bot rushing into his doom, and we didn't address his health. So um, that's not one of the ones that I like a whole lot. But man, it's just sure would be nice for him to get some love. All right, so let's move on to the next one. And we got Dive Bomb and Windblade left, and then we got Guy Hawk. So we'll go ahead and do Dive Bomb. Dive Bomb's one is actually pretty nice. And I've never been really into Dive Bomb in this game, but I got a lot of friends that do. So if you're watching right now, I hope you really like this. But Dive Bomb is going to have all of your attacks heal you for 12% of the damage done. So when you look at the damage that it does, like all of your damage, mean 11k in your ability. So now you're gonna get some of that back. You're gonna heal, and his ability already. It's already gonna produce a shield. So your special ability damage increases by 20.5, and that's how I get to that 11k number. Dude, I like it. I actually like. If I was a dive bomb user, I 100% would go after this one. It's good. Yeah, man, it's just good. And Joker says, "You get a shield, and you get a shield. Everybody gets a shield," and that's what we're trying to avoid. So, you know, I imagine you were saying that in your Oprah Winfrey voice, but yeah, like you just can't have everybody get a shield. It just makes the shields just not as valuable. And then if you get a shield, everybody, you've got some bigger issues in the game that you need to address with some of your bots. Now I got caught by the FFD in this particular case. But you can see with that extra ability damage, he's tearing some stuff up. Um, I just happened to get caught by FFD there, but yeah, it's pretty solid. Yeah, Chris Harmon did make a good point. Dive Bomb is an awesome power leveler in Zen Farmer. Absolutely. And anytime you get that kind of range on a bot, it's gonna be it's gonna be good, man. It's gonna be good for Z farming. It's gonna be good for power leveling. Uh, I don't have like the 5-star version. I got a few levels on the 4-star version, but yeah, I use them in Z farming just to make things easier on myself. All right, so let's try this. Let's try. And that's the key thing. It's so clustered back here. I actually want to give it some time. Yeah, I can actually see his regen starting to work a little bit. Um, it just helps a little bit more with the survivability. Now, in that much of a cluster, you're not going to be able to regen, but so much. But it's almost like having a built-in, like amalgamous type thing going on. Mercenary Sarah says, since everybody's talking about power leveling, he says Snapdragon. Yeah, and it's a lot of options up there for power leveling. For me personally, any of those bots that got that nice range like that, I like to put them on in one spot, and whoever the buddy is that I'm trying to level, I'll put them as the second bot, and I'll just run it like that. So definitely lots of power leveling options up there. You don't have to keep using the same bot, and it saves you some coins. So if you or if you're spending in the game, so for sure. All right, let's take a look at Guy Hawk. So Guy Hawk and Brainstorm. Um, Now this is a change that Space Ape made kind of at the last second because uh, one of the one of the things we were looking at as playtesters, we were looking at how the G1 core it didn't have quite enough ability damage boost. So here it's going to increase the special ability damage by 27 and a half, and then it's going to do the generic protection from laser turrets and beam lasers. So that helps because a lot of people going to deploy Guy Hawk and try to get down range a little bit and get his ice explosions going off. So for the laser turrets, if you get this G1 cool and people are actually using anti-air again, then you're going to run into situations where you want to avoid that. And so this will become really, really helpful for it. Now, I don't have him maxed out, and I'm not going to max him out at this point. I got him at 67, which is more usable. I think that I will go in there and drop Terramander in to use as a trigger point for him. But you got to be careful with a bot like this. This is already a really good bot. It's already a bot that is heavily used in the meta. And so you had to be careful with just how much you gave him a boost. But the goal here was to try to give him something a little bit more than EO, than the enhanced ordnance core, and to also give him a boost to his damage. All right, so and he kind of started running away from me because I didn't put a combat on him. But yeah, that ice explosion is pretty good. I didn't put anything, and then he vectors back on his own because of his passive ability. But what I was saying earlier, Chris, is so I will go and use Terramander's ability when I feel like I'm taking a lot of damage, and then I will follow it up. And actually, I think I hit an FFD there. I actually would do better if I look at it on like a front-loaded base. So I'm gonna go find one on the server, and every time I X out of this thing, it boots me out of the server, and it really sucks. But so I'm gonna go back to the lab. But yeah, that's what I was talking about. And if I can get back in here real quick, I'll show you how I'm trying to do this in layers. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty good cool. Um, and it'll give him some protection because, and I know I was watching one of Sunstreak Waza's recent videos, and he was talking about how the anti-air core could be making a comeback again, and if that's the case, then that Guy Hawk G1 will help for that. All right, so let's see. I want to, and I know Yoda's base is front loaded. I don't always want to pick on him, but when I get like a front loaded base like that, I always want to look at certain things. And one of the things that I wanted to look at was what Chris was asking about earlier, and that was how how I would use Terramander and run amok in a combo. So long story short, it's two things I started looking at real heavily this week with Terramander, and one of those things was that I like to try to use him across the battlefield as much as possible. So I'll drop Impactor here, then I'll go with Guy Run Amok, and Terramander. And so what I like to try to do is try to run his ability out as far as possible in a large area. And so now I'm taking less damage from these guys. And I'm also taking any of the outpost bots that walk into Terramander's cloud are going to have reduced damage as well. So then what I'll do is I'll actually use Run Amok and take a look at how well they're holding up with both Terramander's ability running and with Run Amok's ability running as well. Like they actually become very, very difficult to kill because they're taking less damage from the defenses. And you know, Terramander's not like this bot that has like a stupid amount of health. And look at this health; it's barely even moving. And so that's what I was kind of talking about. Um, and yes, to answer your question, for me in that combo, I use Slipstream. I got Slipstream before I got Guy Dude, I did it again. I got to every time I X out of this thing, it, the server crashes. But yeah, now that's what I've been doing. I'm just gonna have to let that run on its own, to be honest, because to every time I go to that screen, it logs me out. But yeah, so let me know in the chat what you think of the G1 cores. I think they look pretty good. And as soon as I get this logged back up, let's take a look at the next set of endurance bots. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not gonna look at all of the abilities just yet. I'm going to because they changed. I actually just changed this morning when I shortly after I woke up. So I don't want to show one ability and it changes. There's still a lot of back and forth about it. But let's take a look. And oh, that's why I couldn't see him. He's got Tarn's logo up there. And I might have to go do. All right, let me try something real quick because it looks like I might have an old build of this up here, and I can actually run the test server from my actual cell phone. So it might be better for me just to do that. So give me a second and I will get that set up for you guys so we can see this new bot. And Big Blade says he has the Legacy Wild Riders tour. Yeah, that's one of the ones I wanted and I never actually got. And this kind of sucks. As I said, I am having a time trying to actually get into. I'm having a hard time trying to get into my phone for to pair this with the computer. So I'm trying to aircast it. Let me see something real quick. But so while I'm getting that set up, let me start talking about something I've been working on throughout the week. And what I've been working on is a while back ago, I made a video called it was like all speed team. I was just talking about all these speed up boosters, and I started thinking to myself, thanks to the help of Trap, I was like, what if we started doing bots that slowed stuff down? And so that's where, back to our earlier conversation, Terror, that's where the whole thing came in about Center Twin because, well, you got bots like Center Twin that actually do both. Yeah, speed up for your bots and a slow down for the opposing team bots. So I started playing around with all the different speed up and a lot of the, well, not all, but a lot of the speed up bots and a lot of the slow down bots. And so I just took Center Twin on the test server and I maxed Center Twin out. And I said to myself, man, this is pretty cool. Like, I actually enjoyed it a lot. And so what I did is I actually did exactly like you were saying. I said I put my Cronus on them, and I actually put Gabu because the problem with Center Twin is Center Twin has a tendency to run away. So when you use a bot like this, what you're trying to do, one of the things I'm trying to do is to have him pause for that ability briefly, and with him having a lower walk speed, just keeping him out of the way, keeping him from getting himself into trouble. So who else did I have up here with him? Like, I don't even think, did I use a healer when I was using them? I don't think so. So I'll put run him up back in, and I'll take him into a battle. All right, so let's see. And so what I was thinking about is the kind of the same theory I was just talking about with Terramander. If I go use him to reduce damage, and then I can slow down bots or defenses using Center Twin. So it's a couple ways you can go about it, really. So use Terramander at the far ranges, hit your defenses with that time split bomb, and that'll drastically slow them down. and it just really makes it tough to really do any damage to your bots. It's like look at their health meters right now. Everybody's holding up great like that. And what I started looking at is like maybe this is an alternate way to go about, especially like in some of the harder leagues. Maybe this is a way that you can slow down like the MDS so you're not taking as much damage and you're not as concerned as you would be. And if I can get up that way with the rest of my team, I can actually demonstrate that. So yeah, you slow that down a little bit. And then you also have the option of speeding up your bots. And so when you get to a lot of these real rough, like the bottleneck areas of your bases, you can actually just get through a base real fast. Like in that case, it took me about a minute. Okay, and then Terry said he made a similar video. Yeah, and the thing is, I saw that one and it didn't catch on for me at the time. Um, it took me a while for me to just say, yeah, man, that's a good idea. So then I was looking at that and I said I wanted to take it even a step further. And I said, I started looking at other slowdown bots. And so I started looking at, let me go find my tanks. And I started looking at Iron Bison, you know, Kill Bison, because I know Terror is watching. And yeah, so I started looking at that and I said, I put them in the mix. And I actually started trying some really tough bases on the test server just to see how it goes. And when I combine that with like Terramander, or I combine it with the shielding that I'm getting from Run Amok, or I combine any of these things together, the teams just get really, really difficult to kill. And I probably want to go get a combiner for this one because that's going to be tough. So let me go get some ore. And then we will add him to the team as well. Alright, so I think when I did it the other day, I actually removed Knockout. And I was just playing around trying to see how I would use this. Not saying I'm gonna build my team exactly like this, but I wanted to push my limits a little bit to see just how far it goes. Yeah, and I just peeped that too. I was supposed to be I, I was still in the lab. Alright, so check this out. So this is the strategy I was talking about. So I'm using Yoda's base as an example again. And what I do is I bring Bludgeon over, then I drop my team, and I will run Kill Bison there. And then I also want to get rid of some of that damage that I'm taking, so I use Terramander's ability. And as long as I don't have any FFDs present, that's when I use run amok. And look at the damage. Now the only one that really took any damage was my bludgeon, and that's because I had him out front. But now I can kind of just spam all of these different abilities that I have there, and it actually works out really well. And considering how heavily front loaded this base is, they're actually holding up really well damage wise. You get into a little bit of a jam, then you can use any of these slowdown abilities or speed up abilities, to try to get through things faster. Now, in this case, I think I just ran into a leech core, but even then, it's getting through there pretty quickly. So even when I go use like something like Iron Bison on the MDS, it's reducing how quickly it does the damage. And even with a team with like 2 4 stars on it, suddenly, and I haven't even used it like I usually use it because a lot of times I actually use Slipstream here to try to get the explosions. And now I just now lost my first bot. Now this is what me just kind of just talking to you guys and just playing at the same time, but just kind of just goofing off. But this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. That it works really well on those, especially on those front loaded bases. So yeah, I think that even though here it's gonna actually be a close call because I'm with me playing around. Uh, that speed up and slow down. This actually makes me want to see some of these speed up and slow down bots as 5 stars. Mercenary Terror says, "I can't believe it. A high player using something that he made. It makes him happy." Yeah, man. I mean, it's a good idea, and I think a lot of times when these bots are 4 stars and when it's not something that's considered the meta, like to be honest with you, people don't always use speed ups and slowdowns very often, and so it kind of it kind of just changes the way that people see that stuff. I know I used to always make the argument. I used to love speed up abilities like a lot, and everyone's just like, nah, man, I can't even tell if it's doing anything. And I think that's the biggest thing that people can't. People like stuff that they can see real easily. The visuals are there, but you can clearly see now. I lost some bots due to my reckless play here, but it cleared out everything. And now I'm probably going to run out of time just because I was goofing off. But it cleared huge chunks of a really, really strong base really quickly. All right. So let me see. While it's doing that, let me see if I can get back into. I want to try to get into my phone and show off the new bots. And yeah, and if anything, I ran out of time here, so it ain't too bad. Yeah, and that's a problem. So the problem is I'm trying to show Wild Rider and Blue Streak. The problem is this: we wind up getting a new build in the new version of the test server, and I got it here on my phone, but I also need to. There we go. All right, so let me see. Now I got my screen mirroring enabled. Now that's what I was actually having a hard time with. So let me see if I can pull it up on the phone, and we can take a look. And I can already see the comments about Wild Rider because I mean it's tough, right? When you already got a version of that bot in the game, being breakneck, uh, Now it ticked some people off, and for a couple of days there, I was kind of I was kind of making fun of everybody. I was like, yeah, man, Wild Rider was my response to like everything for a couple of days, just because I thought it was gonna be pretty cool. But I do see your point when you like stop picking at the lore a little bit. But I do know the Autobots did want blue streaks, so that part worked out pretty well. All right, so I let me change my screen. Power mirror, live stream. All right, so this is actually showing from my phone now, and so I should be able to pull the bots up here. So we want to take a look. And I don't use this very often because the quality isn't as good as it is on BlueStacks. But here I actually have Wild Rider. So I know we got a couple of G1 purists in there. Let me pull the chat up so I can actually see you guys' reactions. But yeah, so this is how the design they're using for Wild Rider. And honestly, I think it looks pretty good. Terror, Terror, let me know what you think, bro. Some of you other guys too, Robert C4, you guys, let me know what you think. It's I had a comment says leak the special ability. We won't snitch. Nah, not yet, because it keeps changing. And honestly, like when something keeps changing like that, like people get excited about that stuff, man. And then it may or may not stay like that. Right now, my concern is the bot might be massively overpowered. And then there we got Blue Streak. But yeah, pretty good looking bots. I will say about the ability is this. So the mindset of what Space Ape was looking at in terms of the abilities is they wanted to do something that kind of has a multiplier, a damage multiplier for however many times you use it. Now, what that's going to look like in the final version, I'm not sure. But they also are looking at some potential counters to some of the rush in tanks. So you may see something like that as well. But they want it to be a sniper. They want it to be something that's comparable to or better um, than breakneck and smokescreen. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. I'm not 100% certain yet what the ability is going to look like when we get done, but pretty cool, pretty cool. But all right, guys, let me know what you think of the G1 course. And a lot of you guys were already in the stream talking about it, but let me know in the comments as well. I'll be streaming again next Wednesday, so I will see you guys then, and I will also see you on the battlefield. Freezy is out.